So about 6 months ago, I saw a video by Ginny D called The Worst DM Advice Everyone Gives. And I thought, finally, someone's gonna talk about the thing that everyone says that sucks. But actually, Ginny talked about something different. She talked about the advice don't over prep, which I think is definitely the most unhelpful piece of common DM advice out there. Her video is great, check it out. However, there's another bit of DM advice that I see floating around all the time that I think is more harmful and insidious. It pretends to make sense, but in practice is horrible. It kills D&D, ruins games, and is so subtle that after it's all over, people are left wondering where it all went wrong. That advice is, if the players can do it, the enemies can too. Unless you're brand new, you've heard this advice before. It's a Thanos snap answer to all player shenanigans. If you do that thing, the monsters will do it too, so think carefully. After all, it's only fair, right? No, it's not fair at all. So the Reddit post that really got me thinking about this stuff was called "Every Enemy Caster Has Silvery Barbs and It's Unnecessarily Frustrating." I've linked it below, but the title basically says it all, right? The players are getting slapped with silvery barbs on every attack roll, on every saving throw, and they're getting annoyed. Importantly though, the OP also says that all the players who could take silvery barbs to use against the monsters did. So here's where the drama comes in. Let's check out what Reddit has to say. Nah dog, y'all deserve it. You knew it's an exploit, and literally every single one of you that could took it. You yourselves can be less of dicks and change the spell lists. I'm sorry, but you're kind of being an asshole to your DM. Counterpoint. If Silvery Barbs existed, it would be the first spell that anyone learns. Any caster who doesn't take Silvery Barbs is shooting themselves in the foot. Quote, "Everyone on the party who can take it took it. You get what you deserve." So yeah, I'm guessing you guys get the perspective. All the other comments are basically the same, or they're just ripping into this person because I don't know, because the internet is just weirdly aggressive sometimes. And besides, it's realistic. In a world with silvery barbs, every spellcaster would take it. As Grendel the Skald quotes in the comments that famous adage, "If the players can do it, the monsters can do it." Except this is terrible advice. It's unfair at best and game-destroying at worst. But how come so many people believe this idea? Why is it actually toxic, and why does it cause games to break down in practice? Let's talk. Ah, what a lovely day. Why don't I just check my YouTube comments? How do I play D&D? That feeling when you can't find a playgroup. I want to play Pathfinder. Are you really bored? Nobody near me plays D&D. I work night shifts, so I can never get a game. Like, actually, you're actually bored. Where can I play D&D? Wow, you'll need to check out Start Playing. Start Playing is the biggest online platform for players to find tabletop role-playing games for any system and any virtual tabletop. It has thousands of games you can join. Search for games created for total beginners or experienced players. You can also search by the times that work for you or by your preferred system or tabletop. GMs all have verified reviews, so you can choose the one that suits your playstyle, or even GM yourself professionally. And everyone gets $10 off when you create a new account using my link down below. Check out Start Playing to start playing today. Link in description. Forget about what is and isn't fair in D&D for just a second, because I think that's already missing the main point. If the players can do it, the monsters can do it isn't fair, and we'll get to that in a second, but first, we need to address the elephant in the room. The point of D&D is to have fun. Most people have busy lives. We've all got Nintendogs to feed and children we hate. We rock up to D&D once a week to forget all of that and have fun. But I'm reading through these comments and I'm asking myself, do people who say things like, "You get what you deserve," or "A taste of your own medicine is a hard pill to swallow," do they sound like they're actually interested in the player who has this problem having fun? No, these comments are so hilariously dramatic and aggressive. They are not interested at all in the player having fun, they are interested in the DM getting revenge. You cast silvery barbs on them, so they get to do it to you. Whether you like it or not, be damned. This is unhealthy game advice. Let's leave silvery barbs behind for a second and take a simple example of if the players can, the monsters can in practice. A group of 4 players square off against a group of enemies. The players, understandably, focus fire on one bad guy at a time. That makes sense. Swing the action economy in your favor by eliminating threats one by one. Focus fire is like tactic number 1 in the How Not to Die handbook. But then the bad guys do the same. Every enemy targets one player, the most vulnerable, and knocks them to 0 hit points, then stamps on their body 3 times. That player is dead. It's the logical thing for the bad guys to do. It's what the players did literally seconds before, so that makes it fair. And besides, any bandits who don't do that are just shooting themselves in the foot, right? I think you all know where I'm going with this, but that is not fun for the player. Oh, thanks, Greg. I'm really happy I came to D&D tonight for you to knock me out for 3 hours before I took a turn. Oh, what a fun game D&D is. The truth is, aiming for fairness or equality between players and monsters is actually a terrible idea. Imagine Pokemon, but every enemy trainer can revive their fainted Pokemon and spam healing items all the way through the game. It's what the average player does in a normal playthrough of the game, so why don't the designers make the enemy trainers do it too? The reason is because it would be a horrible gameplay experience. This is usually where people like to bring up games like Dark Souls as an analogy for brutal D&D. But I don't think that's a fair comparison either. Even challenging games like Dark Souls are functionally unlosable. You have infinite lives. It doesn't matter how hard or unfair the enemies are, you keep coming back. You instantly respawn, and that's the gameplay loop. But in D&D, you don't come back. The impact of a player being removed from the game isn't an instant respawn and jumping back into the fun. It's sitting around for hours wondering, why am I playing this game? The truth is that a monster dying doesn't matter for the DM, but a player dying is catastrophic for that player. It doesn't actually ruin a DM's game experience if the players cheese a fight, if they use silvery barbs or force cage or banishment or whatever. The DM keeps playing the game and can adapt encounters to keep challenging the players next time. This is why it's awesome to be a DM, the fun never stops. But those same tactics turned on a player are gonna feel so mean and so targeted, and worst of all, boring. So boring. Now, players should be able to fail. That threat should be there. And I have no issues with a consenting table purposely running really challenging, unfair D&D. That sounds like it could be fun. But just saying if a player can do this, the monster should too is not fair, because the consequences for loss are so much higher for players than they are for DMs. By the way, this is a good thing. This is an essential thing. It puts the DM in a position to prioritize enjoyment, not victory. This, I thought, was not a controversial opinion, but apparently it is. Apparently, pointing out that fucking over the monsters as a player is very different from fucking over the players as a DM is an opinion so counter to the majority that it's downvoted out of existence. The comments under this post are so gleeful about the player getting what they deserve. Like they deserve to be unhappy, like they deserve to have a bad game because they used a spell that was printed by Wizards of the Coast that the DM allowed. Let's take these comments in good faith and assume they actually are trying to help, not just laughing at the OP. What lesson would a new DM learn from this post? Well, first lesson, it's obviously not the responsibility of the DM to consider whether their players are having fun. In fact, it's totally okay to express your unhappiness through vengeful gameplay that punishes your friends. These aren't supposed to be your friends, remember. They use silvery barbs on you, well, screw them. You give everyone silvery barbs. Silvery barbs forever. Don't talk to them, don't address it, just make them re-roll everything. As one upvoted commenter said, I can just add more cultists. Don't you see, DMs? That's how you win. You make your friends so unhappy, they have to do exactly what you say. Wait, wasn't this discussion about being fair, like 2 minutes ago? And now we've got people cheering the idea of a DM adding endless enemies, endless rerolls to force the results that they want. That doesn't seem fair at all. But counterpoint, maybe being a jerk is just how we all communicate in 2023. DM is telling you to stop picking silvery barbs, Lamau. Or, to put it even better, a little passive aggression works better than trying to talk it out. This is the epitome of DM versus player gameplay. This is toxic bullshit. These comments and the way they patronize the OP make it clear that it is the player's fault that their DM is making the game unfun. In short, if your DM is creating an unpleasant experience in-game, it's because you did something wrong. What was that line you crossed? Who knows? DMs don't communicate directly because passive aggression works better than trying to talk it out. Good luck working out what you did wrong. And by the way, this isn't just D&D anymore. This is like textbook abusive relationship stuff. Reddit isn't all bad. There were some good comments under this post, but the upvoted visible stuff was bad. This was a bad take. The truth is, Silvery Barbs is a badly designed spell, but the answer to your players using it, if you, the DM, are unhappy, is not to give it to every NPC possible and use it all the time. And there is only one way to solve this kind of problem. You need to talk it out. Explain that you aren't enjoying the game specifically because of Silvery Barbs being cast all the time. Acknowledging there is an issue and taking the first step towards fixing it is the best thing you can do. After all, if a player can do that, maybe the monsters can too. So, what's the takeaway here? Sometimes, as a DM, your players might piss you off. They might spam Silvery Barbs, for example. But the answer to that is never to express your unhappiness through gameplay. Funnily enough, purposefully sabotaging your game is not good D&D advice. This is simple stuff, but new players and DMs do need to hear it, especially when that toxic passive-aggressive stuff is so often celebrated online. But in real life, internet points are worthless, and I'll take a good group of friends who respect each other and actually enjoy the game over Reddit upvotes any day. This month's issue of the DM Secret Weapon features the Wild Magic Paladin, an awesome subclass option that lets you trigger chaotic surges with your strikes. Plus a load of maps, adventures, new races, and more, all out right now on Patreon, link up here and also down there. That's all I got. Remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and yeah, I'll see you next time.